Eagle Harbor, Northern Michigan, September 1871.
"You're not the new teacher,"
the bald, round-faced man said again in his childlike voice. "But I am," Tessa Taylor insisted. She pushed the wrinkled letter toward the proprietor of Coal Mine Company store and office. The man's chubby cheeks were flushed red. His eyes shifted in distress toward the shop door, and he refused to so much as glance at the official document she had carried over the past week, her beacon of hope, her only escape from the past that haunted her.
"The new teacher is supposed to be a man," the storekeeper said, "and you're a woman."
She braced her hands on the spotless glass countertop and leaned across it, taking in the name badge he wore pinned to his vest. "Listen, Mr. Updegraff, I'm T. Taylor, which stands for Tessa Taylor. I'm the new teacher for the Eagle Harbor School. I'm sorry you thought you were getting a man, but lucky for you, I'm worth 10 men. At the sight of her hands on the counter, the man shook his head and made tisking noises at the back of his throat. When he reached beneath the counter, Tessa jerked her hands off the glass and took a quick step back. She'd heard tales about the wild, untamed regions of Upper Michigan, of the brawling, drunkenness, and lawlessness that were rampant. It would be just her luck if he pulled out a gun and shot her on the spot. She could see the headline in the Detroit Free Press: "Town demands a man teacher, shoots all women who apply for the job." As Mr. Updegraff lifted his hand, Tessa started to raise hers in self-defense, but then stopped. It wasn't as if she could catch the bullet if he decided to shoot her. To her surprise, he plopped a frayed rag onto the glass and began to swirl it in circular squeaking motions in the very spot she'd touched. His brows puckered and his flabby jowls shook at his exertion. Behind her, the store was deserted except for one woman with a baby propped on her hip and 2 children running around her in circles and tangling in her listless skirt, one giggling and the other crying. They were racing awfully close to the glass jars of pickled beets that sat on a low shelf. For all the noise the children were making, the mother didn't seem to hear them. Instead, she let her dirt-encrusted fingernails trail over a grain sack of potatoes, marked with a crude sign that read $2 a bushel in stick-like elementary handwriting. Next to the potatoes stood barrels of apples, turnips, melons, cucumbers, cabbages, and carrots, apparently the stock of local farmers. But the prices on each of them were outrageously high. "I don't suppose you take arms and legs in payment for the fresh produce, do you?" Tessa couldn't refrain from muttering. But Mr. Updegraff was too focused on removing her fingerprints from the glass to pay attention to her sarcasm. The shelves along one wall were stocked with flour, sugar, beans, tea, coffee, and rice. Another set of shelves running down the middle of the store revealed more practical items, like lard, tallow, clothespins, baking powder, and condensed milk. A large portion of the store near the back was overflowing with kegs of powder, fuses for blasting, hard hats with candles, drills, sledgehammers, along with numerous other mining supplies she couldn't begin to name. It hadn't taken Tessa long during her 4-day voyage on the Temperance to realize the steamer was loaded with barrels and crates headed to Copper Country in preparation for the harsh winter that would soon cut the mining communities off from the lower part of the state. The idea of being trapped in the north for the winter had given Tessa pause for only a moment before she'd cast it aside. She was going on an adventure, she'd reminded herself, and adventures always had an element of danger to them. That's what made them exciting.